Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
In today's episode, we are talking about mentorship. How do you find a mentor? What are you looking for in a mentor? Right? Are we ready to have a mentor? All of these things are things that I want to cover in today's episode. Today's episode is based on a question that was sent to me via Instagram. So about a week or two ago, I put out an Ask Me post, right? And somebody sent in this question. And I said, hey, this is kind of a long answer. I'm going to make an episode about it. And I answered it on Instagram, short form, but today we're doing long form. We're going to be talking about mentorship. I thought that was a great question that I got on Instagram. So you guys are welcome to hit me up on Instagram and follow, send a message at Personal Trainer Hustle. And obviously you guys can go to personaltrainerhustle.com just to find out more information about what we're doing and also to send in an official question that way. And we turn those specifically into Q&A episodes. So I love getting questions and turning them into episodes here for everyone to learn together. So today we're talking about mentorship and that question that I got. So mentorship, right? What is mentorship? Well, basically is any way that you find somebody that has information and guidance that you don't yet have, right? Normally it's someone who has had experiences, someone who has achieved something that now can share that information with you. But there are other factors. It's not that simple. It's not that simple to just find a mentor. It's not that simple to just take people's advice, to find people that are actually telling you the truth, right? There's many things that are required when looking for a mentor, right? So first thing I want to go over is just some places where you'll find mentors, right? How do you find a mentor? I think in this day and age, mentorship can be found anywhere and everywhere at, a click of a button, a swipe. You guys right now have found Personal Trainer Hustle via an app, right? On your phone, you get to have someone like me. I've been a personal trainer for over 15 years now, or just about 15 years, I believe. I have been a business owner for almost 10 years of that time. And, I have experience and I am sharing those experiences with you. So this is a form of mentorship, right? You found mentorship through someone who you don't necessarily know, but through podcasts, you can find great mentors. Now, there's a difference there where you don't have a real in-person mentor that you can actually talk about your real struggles with. You can't really ask specific questions, right? You can't really meet with them when it's this way, but you do have a search engine, right? You can look around and see if maybe there has been advice or information shared based on a certain situation that you are finding. So whatever it is, this is one method, right? Having podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, right? People that you follow that share advice. That's an easy way to have mentorship. Another great way, one of my favorite ways, and I talk about it all the time, is mentorship through books, right? Books are a great way to learn from people that have experiences or are professionals in certain areas, right? What are those areas, right? About life, life advice, mindset advice, specific knowledge advice, right? How do I build a website? How do I teach a squat, right? There might be a book all about squats. There might be a book all about, mindset and positivity and overcoming, anxiety or overcoming, depression, things like that, right? So there are people out there that have written books and have shared all of their experiences, their knowledge, their wisdom, and they took the time. They took a long time because these things are not easy to do. They took time to put all those thoughts together. And for like $10 or $20, you can completely begin to transform your life by just simply reading books. So books are one of the most profound ways for me personally to gain mentorship. And if you notice, not everybody, but a lot of the people you look up to, the one thing they'll have in common is that they spend a lot of time of their day reading books on different subjects with different professionals, different people that have accomplished different things. and you get to get a glimpse into their experiences and their mindset. So books is very, very powerful. Podcasts and channels are very powerful. And then obviously, the third way to get a mentor is by having someone in your network be your mentor. Now, I think that this is what everybody thinks a mentor is, right? When we talk about mentorship, we're like, oh, who do I find that can help me? But this is also, in some ways it's an easy thing because it's probably already right in front of your nose and you haven't even noticed. But it's also difficult. And the reason for that is because you're asking for someone's time, right? So wanting to find this perfect mentor in your life, finding someone who's going to give you this advice and be there for you when you text them, when you call them, when you want to meet up for coffee, right? They're just going to be there. That's a difficult thing to do, especially when you think that mentors have to be somebody that is a millionaire, a billionaire, right? Someone who has a big company, someone who has employees, somebody who graduated from the most, prestigious school, right? When you have that approach about mentorship, it's going to be a very difficult thing to do. And so, I'm kind of going a little bit deeper into this, but when you guys think about mentorship, I advise you guys to stop thinking so much about finding this like magic, powerful, super successful person in your network. And instead, my advice is to realize that a mentor is just anyone who can give you advice in a specific area, right? So, like for example, when you guys work at a gym, your mentor could be a trainer that has been a trainer there for 5 years, 10 years, who is the busiest, most successful trainer at that gym. Your mentor could easily be the manager. Why? Because the manager probably started off exactly where you are. And somehow, right? And that's the part you're going to have to figure out from them. Somehow that manager went beyond just being a trainer and actually was promoted to a higher position of power. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to want to be a manager, but that manager has lived through something, right? And they have experiences that you don't have. So for me, when you're thinking about getting a mentor in your local network, instead of trying to find this magical, perfect, super successful person, even though that is important and you can do that, the most important thing to realize about mentorship is that it has to be someone that has succeeded in an area that you want to succeed in, right? So let's dive into like what a local mentorship is and what you have to watch out for, right? One of the big, I guess, mistakes that we make in getting a mentor or in getting advice, right? Because mentorship to a certain degree is also advice you're getting from another person, is that we take advice from the wrong people. And we're going to get into that a little bit as the episode progresses. I have some notes on that. But for you to have something to take away from today's episode, I want to leave you with this. You need to look at an area in which this person has done well. I'll tell you why. Because somebody who maybe has a great family life, great spiritual life, right? They have achieved, a wealth of knowledge and maybe a spirituality and relationships, right? They seem like they have it all together. And you may ask them for advice because you look up to them, but you might be asking them about advice in investing your money. But what you don't realize is this person's successful in areas outside of investing. Asking them advice on investing would be bad mentorship, not because this person cannot be a mentor to you, but because you're asking for advice in an area that this person has not yet succeeded in, right? So whatever they say is going to possibly be limited. They have not been where you want to go. So if you were going to ask advice on spiritual things or on relationship things, then this person is ahead of you and you should look to them. But if you're going to talk about business or working out or investing, then maybe this person is not the right person to talk about this specific subject, right? So again, sometimes when we think of a mentor, we think this one person that's going to have all the answers and solutions for me. The reality is, and this is the game of life, and I made an episode about this a long time ago. It's probably a year ago that I did this episode, just talking about like life is a big fucked up puzzle or something like that, if you guys find it. And I dove deeper into this idea of how life is about figuring out multiple different things, right? According to me, obviously, it's just my opinion. But it's the same thing here. Mentorship is putting together like a team of people that are going to help you, right? It's not just one person. That's, I think, what a lot of us get so wrong in our careers, is that we're looking for this magical person that's going to have all the answers and solutions to what we want to do, and that's frankly not true, right? Like when I talk to you guys, I talk to you guys about personal training, but maybe you guys are in a bad relationship that you need to get out of, that I am not giving you advice on. I am not, that's not my job. That's not my lane, right? So if you have a relationship that is holding back your career, even if you get a lot of information from me about personal training, until you go and figure out how to fix the relationship, you may still be held back, right? So that's life. There's a lot of moving parts. And so finding mentorship is about having different people, different resources that are going to start to help you fix different parts of your life, right? So for me, that's why I like having a mix of books, podcasts, and people in my network. And really, the wise way to do this is to take counsel from a few people that are ahead of you in these areas and see what the common denominators are, see what resonates more with you, right? That's how I have figured out personally what I believe to be some truths of the world, truths of life, truths of the universe, right? How? Because what I realized is what this person wrote about 1,000 years ago is the same thing that this person talked about on a podcast just yesterday, which is the same thing that I read in a spiritual book, which is the same thing that I read in a psychology book, which is the same thing that happened to me in my life. And so because I have a wealth of information from different places, what I can do is I can deduce, wow, there is this common truth in this, because all of these people from different parts of the world, from different backgrounds, from different belief systems, all came to this one same conclusion. And it makes me start to look deeper into it and go, I think there's something here. But if I just listen to the first person and they haven't achieved anything in that area, then the information that I'm getting might be limited or it might be wrong, right? And this happens a lot to all of us, right? Like, think about where we come from. Some of us come from families that had great strengths in one area, but great weaknesses in another area, right? And so you have to be grateful for the strengths that you had, but you also now have to do some makeup work in certain areas that you didn't get the right information from, right? So a lot of us make that mistake, right? The same thing that happens to a lot of people. Oh, I want to get the approval of my parents, or my parents wouldn't approve of what I'm doing. Right, but this is your goal, this is your life, and you need to look for mentorship outside of what they think, because they are not in that lane, right? So our parents aren't always going to be the best mentors. Our friends that we went to college with are not always going to be the best mentors, right? They are still at your level. They're still figuring it out with you, looking to your best buddy from college and going, "Hey, do you think I should do this?" It's a dangerous thing. If they're supportive, they might say yes. If they're fearful of their own finances, they might go, "Oh, well, business is risky, dude. Maybe you shouldn't do it right now. Maybe, I got this job offer. You can take it. You'd be making for sure 100,000 right when you start." And so now you're taking advice from someone who, they have different goals, they have different dreams, right? They have a different path, they have different parents than you, they have a different background, different experiences, right? So the mentor talk can be, a tricky thing to figure out. And so that's why I have a list of things that I want you to think about that we're going to get into today. But before I move on to that, there's one thing I need to go back and kind of talk about here. And this is a very important thing, especially as we talk about having a local mentor. But really, I think this applies to all mentorship, including you guys listening to me right now, and my mentorship to whatever degree I can provide that to you guys. This is the equation. This is part of the equation that's not talked about enough. And as I was getting ready for today's episode, this was the last thing that popped into my head that we needed to talk about today. So now here it is. The big issue with mentorship isn't really always, and the majority part, the mentor. So I'll give you guys an example. As of now, those of you guys that have been following the podcast for a long time, there's a lot of things that I've suggested that you do. There's a lot of things that I've suggested that you read. There's a lot of things I've suggested that you stop doing. Have you done those things? And for a lot of people, the answer is going to be no. And those people, we keep thinking, right? So I'm going to speak to you guys that said no. If you haven't done it, if you haven't tried it, if you haven't gotten around to it, then the issue is not the mentor or finding the right mentor. The issue is your inability to execute on what that person is suggesting that you do. And this, I find, is usually the bigger issue with mentorship. And I'm telling you because I see it every day, because I'm a mentor to trainers in my gym. I've been a mentor to many trainers over the years. I've had mentors over the years. And the one thing that I've realized in most people that are looking for mentors, because this is, maybe I should have opened up with this, but this is a topic for me that sometimes is very frustrating. I meet a lot of people that talk about, my mentor said this, my mentor said this, but they never get anywhere. It's a cycle of mentorship without achieving anything. And so the issue here, and this is the big word that you need to apply into your own life is humility. Most people, I have a theory that I'm working on right now, and I think this might be it. The theory that, because again, right, like I just said a little while ago, there are certain things that I observe and that I read and that I experience and that I listen to, and there seems to be commonality. And so this is one of those things that I've realized there's a common theme here. The common theme in most people that don't achieve is a lack of humility, the lack of looking and applying for information, the lack of believing that what I should be doing is the correct thing to do, right? The lack of taking action on the mentorship that we so desperately seek, right? You could apply it to business, you can apply it to relationships, you can apply it to faith and spirituality, right? People go to church, people read spiritual books, people, whatever the spiritual teaching is, most people read it. They're like, this is a good idea. And then they turn around and they don't do it, right? The book says, find peace in XYZ. And what we do is we turn on the TV and start watching another show instead of looking to apply the thing that we just read that clearly many people have gotten a lot of benefits from. What is the underlying issue there? For me, and what I want you guys to really think about is if you guys are looking for mentorship in books, podcasts, or in person, at the end of the day, once you find a good mentor, because we're going to get into how to find good mentors and things to look for, right? So we still have more to go. But even if you found a great mentor, if you are not ready for mentorship, if you think mentorship is just the end all be all solution, right? As long as I have it, I figured it out. And you don't realize that it takes humility, it takes listening to that person. It takes this mindset of like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am type of mindset, right? That's how I talk to my trainers sometimes about this. I go, there's the trainers that go, yeah, but, and then there's the trainers that go, yes, sir. And the yes, sir people, the yes, ma'am people, they tend to do well. The yeah, but people tend to always end up failing. It's just that simple. So I need you, when you go back and you read a book, when you listen to a podcast, when you get advice from your manager or an experienced trainer, are you the type of person that goes, yeah, but yeah, but I understand that, but you see me, right now, my schedule, it's because, that's how someone who's not going to achieve sounds. I'm telling you, I believe this wholeheartedly. Anyone that starts a response after getting advice from a mentorship that is a mentor that is qualified, anyone that gets advice and follows with a yeah, but and then there comes a reason or excuse, you're setting yourself up for no progression. You're setting yourself up, frankly, to most likely fail at whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And this happens a lot. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it happens all the time. People are looking for mentorship, and when they find it, they reject it. Right? I tell you guys, read a book. This has happened. I've given people books to read, and when they finish a book, they go, yeah, I didn't really get anything from it. Oh, yeah, I feel like I already knew that. That's the sound. Again, those are the words. Consider those the famous last words a personal trainer or anybody said before they go on to fail at something. Because you cannot want famous last words, because you cannot want to succeed at something, to get advice and to learn from somebody only to then think that you know better. weren't you just saying that you wanted mentorship? Weren't you just saying that you were struggling with something? Weren't you just saying you haven't gotten clients? Weren't you just saying people are telling you they don't have enough money? So you're coming from this place where things aren't working out for you. And the moment that you get advice from a book, from a podcast, from a person, most people, I'm telling you guys, because I live it, most people, their first instinct is to put a guard up and reject it. Why? Because our ego is a dangerous thing, right? There is a part of our mind that wants to protect us, right? It wants to protect our ego. And I've read this in a few books. And so what happens, and this is the challenge with the humility, right? Most people that can succeed from having a mentor have to figure out how to get over this instinct that your brain's going to kind of, it's like a trick your brain plays. And that is your brain wants to protect you from feeling dumb. It wants you to protect you from feeling the negative feelings of not knowing, right? So what happens is the moment that you have new information, your brain, it wants to protect you, right? It wants to say, oh, no, no, that's not true. Or I already knew that, right? We want to not have the humility, which is where the success is. We don't want to go through the acceptance of, you know what? I had never thought about that. You know what? I've been doing the exact opposite, man. I've been dumb about this. I've been doing this completely backwards. Right? That takes humility, but that's what's going to lead you to change that you so desperately need. And so I wanted to make the point to say that if you think that you want a mentor and you think that you want advice, and then you cannot help but find a way to excuse yourself from the advice or reject the advice or think that you already knew better than the advice, then there is no point in reading books, listening to podcasts, or having a good manager or a mentor in your life. There's no point because whatever they say, you're going to find a way to rationalize your own behavior and your own beliefs, which completely defeats the whole purpose of having a mentor. The whole purpose of having a mentor is having someone who is guiding you, who is helping you, who's giving you advice, who's pointing out the pitfalls, who's been there before. And again, you don't have to listen to everything. That's why I said you have to find mentorship in certain areas, right? But the humility is usually what holds a lot of people back. Most of the people that you guys look up to that have achieved something, they have one thing in common, and that is that they know how to take good advice. They know how to look at a good idea and go, you know what? I should try that. Right? Most business people, they walk somewhere, they see something, they go, this business, I love how they did this. Sure, they're my competitor, but instead of talking shit about them, most good business people go, that's a fucking great idea. I'm going to take this back and I'm going to tweak it and make it even better, but that's a great idea, right? So winners recognize winners. This is the hard thing, right? When you're losing, it's hard for you to recognize what winning sounds like because you only know what losing sounds like. And so this is one of those things that you're going to have enough, you have to have enough humility to accept new information, to accept that you don't know right now. Right. And all of us are in this boat. When I get advice on something, right, I might get it. One day I might get advice on this podcast about the way that I did the last 100 episodes up until now. Somebody's going to go, dude, you kept saying this, or you completely forgot to do this. And at that point, I'm going to go, damn, you're right. And then from that moment forward, I will do differently. Until I get that advice, I am not aware of the mistake that I'm making. Right. But I have to get it also from somebody who's done it longer and better than I have, because this is what happens, right? You start a page or I start a podcast, and then some person that's never trained anybody before is going to go and leave a comment and say, oh, you should do this, right? It could happen on the podcast. Oh, Sam, you should do this. Do you have a podcast? How long have you been doing it? I know you think you have good advice, but you haven't been there. You haven't done it. I have to tread lightly here, and I'll say thank you, but I'm probably not going to give it too much weight because you haven't done it. Right. And same thing with you guys, that you guys are training people, whatever. Somebody's going to go in there and give you some type of quote unquote advice. It's usually just hate. Right. But they're going to say, oh, I wouldn't do this, the curls like this, or you're forgetting the scapula or whatever. Right. But who cares? Those people usually have not achieved, because usually people who have achieved something don't go around just, posting and wasting their time. They're busy succeeding. So you have to look for them. And once you find them, you have to make sure that you take it seriously. The last thing I'll say about mentorship, especially when it's like an in-person mentor, is that if you, after a while, the mentor, here's the thing, you cannot outsmart or cheat, lie to, or get over on someone who has already been there and done that. And this is the part that you guys don't realize, right? Sometimes people stop helping you. I'm telling you because it's happened to me. I stop helping people when they haven't even done the first thing that I suggested that they do, right? They want new information, but they haven't done the old information. So a mentor is just going to quickly realize I'm just wasting my breath here. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my thoughts. I could be out getting coffee. I did this to help you because I thought you wanted help. And when you guys prove that you don't want to apply the help, mentors are quickly going to be a little too busy to give you any more time. Because here's the other side of that, right? Usually people are too busy to help you. But if you are a great student, people love giving you time. People love helping people that are interested, right? When you guys ask me questions, when you guys say, I love that because you took time to want an answer. You want the information. And so I want to give it to you. That's the other side of it. Again, this is like winner talk that a lot of people don't realize because we only know how to speak, for lack of a better term, we only know how to speak loser talk. So loser talk sounds a certain way, winner talks sound a certain way. When you're trying to bridge from loser talk to winner talk, it's a difficult thing because you're going to have to take advice and be humble. You're going to have to apply certain things. You're going to have to, behave and think in a different way that you're not used to, right? That's why this conversation is very difficult because usually people who succeed, most people, they see them as a threat. They see them as greedy. They see them as arrogant, right? Why? Because on your side, you have no idea what it takes. You want what they have, but you're not willing to listen to figure out what is the actual common denominator here to get there, right? So I'm just wanting to make the point that a lot of times it's not on the mentor, it's on you. You have to be humble enough to actually listen to the mentor. If not, mentor is going to move away because they're just doing this to help you out, right? I feel the same way even with this podcast. Even though I don't talk to you guys directly, I'm doing this because I want to help and see where it goes. So whether you do it or not, right? This is what I always say when I give someone advice. Whether you do it or not, I'm going to enjoy my day. I'm going to enjoy my business. I'm going to work on my business. I'm going to go have fun on the weekend. I'm going to do my thing. You, whether you do it or not, does not affect the mentor. It doesn't affect myself. I don't care if you read or not. It's for you. I don't care if you prospect or not. It's for you. I don't care if you take the sales advice or not. It's for you. I don't care if you listen to the whole episode. The whole reason this exists is to try to help you. If you don't want it, it's not on the mentor. You don't want to. It comes down to you. So just be very mindful of. I'm going to give you guys one book suggestion to read here. I've suggested it before, but this is very important when it comes to mentorship. You want to figure this part out before you even have a mentor because you might ruin your opportunity. And the book is Ego is the Enemy, and it's by Ryan Holiday, right? So he writes a lot on stoicism. But there's one book and it's specific about the ego and the pitfalls of having an ego, and how the ego kind of presents itself and harms us in many ways. And so Ego is the Enemy is the book, and Ryan Holiday is the author. And if you guys read that, you're going to dive deeper into what I'm saying when it comes to that humility that you need, right? So I'm using humility almost as like the opposite of ego. It might not be exact, but what I'm really saying here is that your ego wants to protect you. Your ego wants to tell you you already know. Your ego wants to tell you, that you're the smartest, best trainer in the world, right? Your ego wants to tell you a lot of things, but the ego can be an enemy, right? A lot of times, the reason you're not getting clients is because of your ego. The reason why things aren't working out, it's your ego. The reason why you're not getting more money, it's your ego. You're not getting a promotion, it's your ego, right? Why clients aren't renewing, it's probably your ego. Not because you're egotistical, right? It doesn't mean arrogant, right? Because you could be a very kind, humble sounding person. You can be very kind, very loving, very fun, but you can still not want to listen to good advice. That could still be a thing. And I've met many trainers like that before. The world sees them as amazing, fun people, But me as their mentor, I see the dark side. I see the bad side. I see how they want to reject ideas. I see how they think that they're smarter than the boss, how they feel like they can show up whenever they want. They feel like they can teach me how to run the business, right? There's an ego there that nobody else sees, but that still exists. And that is a big pitfall for a lot of trainers. A lot of you guys are like that. The person that you show online, the person that your client sees is different than the person that your manager sees, right? I know this is true because I've been in all of these positions and I know the different types of trainers, different types of personalities, different types of managers that exist. I know there's also bad managers. I can't get into that today, but assuming that your manager wants to help you, this is a reality. So, three things I want you guys to consider when you are looking into somebody that's going to help you and a mentor. Okay? Because this is very, very important to know, especially in the society that we live in now where people can fake things, right? I see it all the time. I'm going to tell you guys two quick stories that line up perfectly. I didn't even know that I was going to talk about this, but it just came to me. Years ago, I remember I followed two people online just because, you follow people. People follow you. You follow people, right, on our business account. And it was a girl, and she talked a lot about mindset, positivity every morning, the meditation, right? She had a lot of followers, and she was this positive, beautiful person. And one day, I'm at a Starbucks, and I'm ordering my coffee, and this girl in front of me, she looks miserable. She's kind of being bitchy to people. Um, and I'm staring at her, and I'm like, I know this face from somewhere. And, she serves me whatever. She's flustered. And I go, this is the positive girl online. This is the daily meditation, positive. You can achieve anything, positive mentality person. This is her. And in real life, she's kind of annoyed, angry, and bitchy. Now, again, I don't know the situation. She's probably having a bad day. Okay. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is who she said she was online versus who I was witnessing in person were two completely different people. Again, one day this happened to me. I'm driving by, I'm stopped at a red light, and I see this guy running for the bus with a big torn backpack, right? It's hanging off of one side. He's running to catch the bus. And I go, that's the guy. That's the success guy. He's the guy that talks about success and manifestation every day on Instagram. That's him. He's the one with the torn backpack trying to catch the bus. And so why am I telling you this? Because what people present online could be so far from the truth. What these two people were telling people to think and do and how to behave and how to achieve had nothing to do with their lives, right? It was just an idea. It was something that they heard, that they like, that they're sharing, but they have not yet achieved it. And so we have to be mindful of the things that we're going to talk about. I'm going to make three quick points here because we need to be aware of who we're listening to. We need to be aware of what's going on really here because a lot of people like to say a lot of bullshit, right? One thing that I try not to do is repeat the same bullshit that everybody says. Oh, you guys, you want to do a vision board and think about it every day. Even though I think there's truth to it, it's been said and done, right? Positive mindset is one thing, but the reality, and this is what a mentor should do, right? Because this is, oh man, there's so many points. One thing I've noticed from like friends that have mentors is they think mentorship is just like this positive energy, right? This person that helps you put together a vision board, this person that helps you with your positive affirmations. That's part of mentorship, but really what I need you guys to understand is mentorship is someone who's going to say, "Hey, let me see your business plan here. How many clients did you get this month and how many flyers did you pass out and how many ads did you do? Okay, good. Do you see what you did with this ad here? You see how this girl was facing away? You should probably have the next ad where the person's facing because people want to see people's faces." Now that's advice. That's advice, you guys. That is someone who's actually pointing at something and going, "You see what you did here? I tried that. I would do it this way. Try that." That's advice because that's real life. If I say, well, positively figure out how to make an ad, positively figure out how to, write better flyers and better copy on your website, right? There's an element of mindset and belief, yes, but a mentorship needs to also be practical advice, practical things that you're doing. So it needs to be someone who's been there, right? That's the big point. So number one thing you need to look at when you are looking into a mentorship is proof. Proof of what they've done. Okay. I'm going to just use this podcast and what I do as an example, right? I have a podcast. Sure. I'm the podcast guy. But you guys can go look at the gym. You guys can look at the gym's Instagram. There are real clients training with real people. Those clients, half of them don't even know about the podcast. Why? Because the podcast has nothing to do with them. They're clients they're not trainers, they're clients. They want to get in shape. They need the help of a coach. It's not for them. Half of them don't even know I'm doing this. But what I'm saying is there is proof. If you guys say, is Sam really a business owner? Does he really know how to train? Does he really have employees? I'm going to go look for yourself. They're there. So when I'm telling you about being a trainer, when I'm telling you about opening up a business, when I'm telling you about passing out coupons, passing out flyers, making a website, running an ad, you can go see it. It's real, right? I'm not saying that it's this huge, amazing, billion-dollar company, but it's there. You can see it. So when you guys follow mentors, when you guys read books, when you guys listen to podcasts, follow people online, what is the business that this person runs? Because for most people online, the business is the thing that you found them on, right? So for most fitness influencers, their business is being an influencer. See, that doesn't work. That doesn't work because me following you is the business. I need to see what you've done outside of this, right? So for me, the podcast is not the business. The business is the training. And I talk about the business, which is a real business separate from what I'm doing, right? Same thing with books. Some people write books, but their job is to sell books. They didn't do anything else outside of writing a book. So they're hoping that them writing about success is going to make them successful. They never achieved success before selling this book. I hope this is making sense. They are hoping that in them writing about mindset, writing about business, writing about entrepreneurship, they're hoping that that will be their business. So again, that doesn't work, right? Because they haven't built a business before building their book publishing business, before writing the book. So again, just something to think about. Where is the evidence of what you've done? Right? Can I see that you've actually done, at least to some degree, that you've done what you say you claim to help me with, right? That's why I said in the gym, if you're getting mentorship from a trainer that started with you, or even worse, if you're getting advice from a trainer that's been there 5 years and they have just as many clients as you, that's not good because they'd never achieved the thing you're trying to achieve. So look at a trainer, right? A trainer that's been there for 5 years and they have less clients than you do. What possibly could they have figured out that they can teach you, right? The evidence isn't there. But if that trainer has been there 5 years and all of their clients are top tier paying clients, and you can see that they're doing well, and you can see that they get leads, and you can see that the manager likes them, and you can see that they're a good employee and a good mentor, that's someone that has been there, done it, and has proof of it because you can see it and you can listen to them. Same thing with the manager, right? Whether you have a great manager or not, that manager was able to ascend for them to trust them with that position. So the role of manager is part of the evidence that what they say probably carries weight. Same thing with the owner of a company. The owner of the company most likely was able to achieve and get there. And so they have proof that they know what they're talking about. So number one is proof. Do they have a business? Do they have clients? Right? That's another thing I observe a lot on Instagram. Sorry, guys, on Instagram. People have a great Instagram with great pictures, great workouts, but I'm not seeing clients. I'm not seeing that you're actually working with people. Right? Now, again, you may be building your own personal brand. That's fine. But again, right, I'm looking for the evidence. Sometimes when I look at you, I'm like, oh, where's the evidence of the clients? Is there clients? Because you're a trainer, right? But you're not a trainer to train yourself. You're a trainer to train other people. So I'm looking for the evidence that you're training people, right? That's a very important thing. So again, looking for proof is one thing that you have to look for when you're going to read somebody's book, listen to somebody's podcast, or take advice from them in real life is what is the proof that they know what they're talking about in this area? Number two is very simple, but can they break down their steps? Now, this has nothing to do with achievement. This has to do with their ability to communicate. Not everyone that has done something can be a good mentor. I'll give you guys examples in sports. Not everyone that was a great player, those of you guys that like sports are going to know this. Not everyone that was a great player is a great coach. And not everyone that's a great coach was a great player necessarily, right? So somebody's ability to explain things clearly is separate from them actually being able to achieve it. So that's why there's a few little things I want to talk about here, right? Even if number one is true, even if they have proof of what they did, they may not have the ability, the communication skills, the patience, or the thought process to explain what it is that they do. Right. I saw this in an MMA show that I watched. I'm not going to name names of people because you guys might be fans of some of these people. But you guys that follow MMA are probably going to know exactly who I'm talking about. I was watching this Ultimate Fighter, and one of the coaches was a very, very famous, very, very well-known fighter, but their team absolutely sucked. They had the better fighter as a coach, but they all had less mentorship, right? And everybody thought, oh, if I'm on this fighter's team, we're going to get such great advice. Turns out, even though the fighter is amazing, they're not necessarily amazing at being a mentor. I would listen to this fighter explain to the the contestants, right, how this fighter put a combination together, and this fighter would go, you go down, left, up, down, left, switch. And it's like, sure, I know that that's what you do, but you're not able to explain it for somebody else to understand, right? So having the ability to break things down, right? So the question here is, when you listen to the mentor, are you even understanding what they're saying? What they're saying, does it make sense? Because not everybody is a teacher. And that's another thing you need to be mindful of, especially in this area where you guys are. A lot of times we're looking for like, well, who is like the wealthiest, flashiest person that I know, right? Okay, this person, they drive a nice car, they have nice clothes, they have a business. So I'm going to go, beg for mentorship with them. And 6 months later, you're not learning anything, right? Because they can't explain how they do what they do. They don't have the ability to teach. So you need to also be careful with that. Not just because somebody has achieved doesn't mean that they can teach you how they did it. Some people have the ability to teach, some people don't. And it's the same thing in training, right? A lot of trainers, you guys are probably going to know this, a lot of trainers look in shape, but they don't have clients. Or a lot of people are in great shape, but their programs don't work. Why? Because working yourself out and training other people that this person has an injury, this person has a different goal, this person doesn't have full range of motion. Teaching is different than just doing it yourself, right? So that's another thing you should consider. Is this person someone who can break things down in a way that I can understand? And number three, this is a big one. Last point, because I got to wrap it up here. Are they honest? Are they honest? Are they also humble enough to tell you some truths? So how do you know if someone's being honest? I'm going to give you guys a very basic thing here. Most people that have done something, that are trying to teach you something, had to start and have a story of overcoming. Okay. And that's really what you want when you want to get advice, is you want the story of how someone overcame, right? Because that's what you're going through right now. You right now possibly don't have clients, possibly don't have a job. Maybe you started, but you're struggling. Whatever it is that you're going through, and it could be in fitness, it can be in finance, it can be in business, it can be in relationships, whatever the category, whatever you're going through, if somebody tells you how they do it, but they've never had an issue, right? Somebody that was given a gym, given money, whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to give advice on opening up a gym." Yeah, but you didn't build it, right? It was handed over. Now, with time, there's still a lot of things. At the end of the day, somebody has to know what they're doing to be able to even sustain it, right? But I'm just saying, like, in that window between being given a gym and then failing at the gym, somebody might think that they can give you advice. But the reality is, what you want is honesty. That's what you're going to connect with. So you don't necessarily want someone who just presents as successful in an area, but what you want is, you want to hear their vulnerability. That's what makes you understand and connect with them, right? So people that are willing to tell you, when I started, this is what I thought. When I started, this is what I did, and it was wrong. That's what you want from a mentor, because now you know that they know where you are and they've been where you are and where you've been. And so this is a clear example of someone who knows what you're going through, but they actually had the solution. They figured out a solution. Don't you want that solution? So what you want is someone who's honest, someone who tells you their story. I used to think like this. I used to be like this. I used to, do these things or not do these things. I used to never read. I used to never do, and I remember what that was like. And then I did it, and this is what happened. And that's why I'm suggesting it to you. So somebody that's honest and vulnerable is a sign of somebody who actually understands where you're at and where you're trying to get to, right? One of the big things that happens sometimes in mentorship is we're getting mentorship from people that have no flaws. They're just the smartest, the best looking, the richest, the happiest people, and that's all you know, that they've got this perfect life. They're just perfect looking, perfect sounding, perfect everything. They travel the world, everything's perfect. But the problem is, without vulnerability, you can't relate. Without vulnerability, you can't learn. Without vulnerability, you don't know that it's possible for you. Without vulnerability, you don't actually know what steps have to happen between now and then, right? So vulnerability for me, super important when you're reading a book, listening to a podcast, or talking to a local mentor in your network. However you find this mentor, you need to know that there's a story of overcoming and that they're honest and open about telling you the truth so that you can connect and so you can follow their steps and so that you know that they know what it takes. Their life wasn't always that great. Maybe now it is, but they can tell you how it wasn't and what they had to do and learn to achieve it. Super important, right? So for me, the story of overcoming from any mentor is important. You need to know that they've been there, but you also need to know that they surpassed it, right? Because again, on the other side of this is you're listening to people that still haven't figured it out, right? That's the opposite of what I'm saying, right? Some people pretend everything's perfect. Other people, they still haven't figured it out. But so if you get advice from them, how could they possibly know what it takes? They never did it. So until they figure it out, they can't tell you how to figure it out, right? So I hope that makes sense. Just some things to think about today, all right? Um, like I said, this was now a longer episode. I couldn't answer it quickly on Instagram, right? That's why different platforms are for different things, right? On Instagram, I gave you guys a quick little answer, but this is the longer answer to the question of what do we look for in mentorships? How do we find mentorships? This, for me, is a deeper dive into it. I hope I covered enough things for you guys to consider and think about when you are going to pick up those books, when you're going to listen to those podcasts, when you're going to go and talk to somebody in your network, right? Look for these things. Be mindful of these things. You want to get good advice. And like I said in the episode, and you also want to be humble enough and be ready for the advice, right? You have to be ready for the advice. If you're not ready, right? If the soil isn't ready, it doesn't matter what you plant in it, right? The soil also has to be fertile. The soil has to be good for that plant to grow. And so it's the same thing, right? Your mindset, your heart, your mind, everything has to be ready for when that mentor tries to plant a seed, right? Are you going to make it grow, or are you just going to, let another seed die? So, random analogy there, as I always have. All right, you guys, thanks for listening. That's about it. Send in your questions, follow me on Instagram, all that good stuff. I'll talk to you guys soon.